right now. Can you stand up, please? What do you want to be?
Civil engineer.
Say it again.
Civil engineer.
Okay,
I like to be an anesthesiologist.
great.
I'll be an actress, a producer, and a photographer.
Fantastic.
I don't know yet.
Great.
I want to be an anesthesiologist.
Okay. Civil engineer. All right. What we have in terms of what's your name? Corey has decided that climate change, whether we like it or not or believe it or not, there's going to be more snow eventually in Atlanta. And there's going to be more ice, there's going to be more black ice. So he's looked at the heat warming trucks that are starting to surface on other places, and he's decided that he's going to come up with another method to either duplicate the heat warming truck or coming up with one that's more cost effective. And it can also go up into smaller streets and driveways instead of shoveling to make cash. Give him a hand. He also wrote the book for that, so that his application and heat system for melting snow and ice can be applied internationally in terms of, so it's caused him to look at his market in terms of civil planning. What are the smaller streets in all of these neighborhoods, and so in that way he's not 1,000% on the path of what we might think of in terms of civil planning, but you think he's gonna make some money?
Yeah.
Think he's gonna make a difference?
Yeah.
Okay. Say make a difference.
Make a difference.
Make some cash.
Make some cash.
Say make a difference.
Make a difference.
Make some cash.
Make some cash.
Say that's G.
That's G.
All right. But you got
Sierra. I want to be an anesthesiologist.
all right. Sierra has realized that anesthesiology is very close also to drug therapy and the rest of it. And she has a she's basically looking at pharmacology, and what she's going to do is create a book for patients and families about anesthesiology and also about drugs and drug abuse and drug prevention, and then safe drugs based on your conditions in the hospital, so that you already know, so that there's no side effects. Give her a hand. You're going to be, now, what's your name?
Christian.
Christian, you've heard of STEAM, S-T-E-A-M? Have you heard of STEAM?
No.
S-T-E-A-M is STEAM with the arts. Now, what Christian is going to do is Christian is going to, write that down, S-T-E-A-M, and it's coming up everywhere. So we're going to use the arts and humanities to help people get in touch with the autobiographies of great inventors. And what Christian is going to do is she's going to write a play about the life of Hosea Williams. Reverend Hosea Williams is from Atlanta, and most people know about his charity today, but most people don't know he had a Purple Heart, and he was also a biochemist. So she's going to write a play about Hosea Williams, the biochemist, because he was also came up with some inventions that he was relating to Korea with, Japan with, and the United States as a biochemist. So sometimes we can use the arts to talk about the human factor of people in science, because they have interesting lives as well. Give her a hand. She's going to write that play, and that play is going to go to Broadway. And it's also going to have a workbook that teaches STEM, because he was a bioengineer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Huh? I'm going to do that. Don't take my stuff. Give her a hand. What's your name?
Louis.
What are you going to... What are the three things that you're thinking about?
I mean, I like art.
Mm-hmm.
I like the medical field, and I like architecture.
Okay, fabulous. All right, so what I'm seeing is, to me, it also brings you back into, I think there's something called Autodesk, that where you play with interior design. But what you're going to do is art, architecture, and what?
Something
medicine?
about medical field.
In medicine, okay. Oh yeah, I mean, there's therapeutic medicine, all right, and art therapy is part of therapy. Is a certain, so she's going to be an MD, and her specialization is going to be she's going to have a double piece with pediatrics. She's going to love working with pregnant women and with senior citizens. So she's going to have a 3-time specialty, but what she's going to do is bring them into her office environment. She's going to have a building where they go into specialized environments that she's created for internal design that is soothing for them, that's comfortable for them, and then she's going to develop and model some therapies, based on that, so that she utilizes all of her talent. Does that make sense? And you're going to sell books doing that.
Okay.
Do you understand what I said? Does it make sense? Okay. You're going to do anesthesiology.
Yes.
Okay. What's your name?
Jordan.
Jordan. Jordan, your anesthesiology, you're going to have... What's going to be different about your anesthesiology is you're going to go internationally and compare what the methods are for each country are doing. So if we're talking about the Pacific Rim, where they go to school 240, we're going to check certain places in Africa, certain places in the Caribbean, certain places in Europe, certain places in the Pacific Rim, and you're going to be the person that writes a book and the studies about the difference in terms of procedures for anesthesiology, so that we get, say, best practices.
Best practices.
She's going to be the authority of best practices for anesthesiology in the world. You feeling me?
Mm-hmm.
How you like me now? Okay, thank you. Give him a hand. Stand up.
My name is Josiah Henderson, and I don't.
Please stand up.
My name is Josiah Henderson, and I don't know yet.
Good. What do you think you're interested in?
Something in nanotechnology, astrophysics, and biochemistry.
My name is Mate Marsh, and I want to go into neurosurgery.
What?
Neurosurgery.
Neurosurgery. Okay. All right. So, what I want you to do. Everything today is about collaboration. When you go into look at STEM careers and you look at healthcare and medicine, they're talking about community relations, how scientists talk to one another. Now, what's going to happen is your first thing is one of your pieces. You're going to end up in biochemistry, being the subject matter specialist. Say subject matter specialist. Subject matter specialist.
You asking?
No, just say subject matter.
Subject matter.
All right, now what he's going to do, which is deep, is, and you're going to do it starting now, is you're going to work with Christian as a subject specialist for the Hosea project, for the play. And you're going to do the research about him as a biochemist, and how he became a biochemist way back then, elementary school, middle school, and then what his inventions were. She's going to do the play about his autobiography and his family, his life, the fact that he had a Purple Heart and he was attacked, by racists, but he ended up still doing Hosea Feeds the Hungry. You've heard of Hosea Feeds the Hungry?
Yeah.
She's going to do all of that part, and you're going to do the research about him as a biochemist. So you're going to be a subject area specialist. Now what's going to happen, because you did this work about, we went to Auburn Library, Say I went to Auburn Library.
I went to Auburn Library.
And you looked up those packages in terms of what he actually did, and you found out more about his inventions, and you're following up to see where those inventions are today, and whether we still have them, whether we don't, but how you're going to duplicate them, because that's how you're going to make your money. You feeling? How you like me now? What are you going to do again?
Neurosurgery.
All right. What's your first name?
Mate.
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 Mate is going to be a neurosurgeon. All right. So we know brain surgery is really critical. But what Mate is what's fascinating about Mate's discoveries is that we always talk about left brain, right brain. But she's made a new discovery about the pituitary gland. That she's found a nutrient in terms of botany from another country, from South America, that activates the pituitary gland that merges the right and the left hemispheres of the brain so that people can focus and their attention is longer and more intense. And she's discovered that because she was a neurosurgeon and she learned everything there was about the brain. And she studied everything that was developed in terms of surgeries from the past. So it's not just about hands-on, it's also about knowing the field to the utmost. And her books are internationally renowned. Give her a hand. So quickly, I made you a corporation. What I asked you to do here is, where did this stuff start? Now, if you didn't write what you wanted to be, I want you to write that here. And all I did was a simulation of, now what would you have said? If I gave you a chance to just say what you would have said, write that down too. But
What? I'm confused. Where are we writing this down?
you can put it on anywhere you want.
Oh, okay.
On the back of everything. But I'm just saying, if you think about what you might have said, did you go? Come on.
My name is Jeremiah Perkins. I want to study criminal justice and minor in
Move back a little
film
bit.
production.
Okay. Okay. What Jeremiah is going to do is say violence reduction.
Violence reduction.
Right. Jeremiah is going to take on violence reduction in terms of gun violence, but he's also headed towards emergency medical, to be an emergency medical physician. He doesn't know that yet. He's going to start talking to the Grady Hospital Trauma Department. And he's going to work backwards, realizing that there's a lot of young people of color coming in there day in and day out with gunshot wounds. And he's going to work backwards from showing those statistics to show the community, sort of what's killing us and why. So he's going to be dealing with juvenile delinquency on one side, but he's also going to know enough about emergency medicine to bring together that community. Because right now, most of if you worked in an emergency room and you saw young black kids coming in and day out with gunshot wounds and dying, you would almost be a little bit disgusted with our community, wouldn't you?
Yes.
All right. But what he's going to do is he's going to be somebody that heals and provides information to the rest of the community about the reality of what's going on, and brings some sense of his book is going to be about coming from a trauma surgeon standpoint. What would you feel like if you saw this day in and day out? How would it be prevented? He's going to look at it from the standpoint of the funeral homes, from the standpoint of juvenile delinquency, from the standpoint of the law, from the standpoint of medicine. He's going to be the utmost specialist in terms of violence reduction and normalcy for one safe community in the very near future. But he's got to look at all those sides in order to get a holistic view for his book and for his practice. So he'll work for a few years in law enforcement. He'll work in medical psychology. He'll understand what the surgeon's job is and what that whole thing is about. But his book is going to be holistically, how do we start and deal with violence reduction and normalcy, and how to present from the trauma surgeon standpoint back to the community what it's like day in and day out to watch this happening. So from a standpoint where it can't be ignored. Give him a hand. All right. Did this make any sense?
Yes.
Okay. What you have is, the next part of it is, now what I said here was, it was going to be inquiry based. It means I'm going to ask you questions, and there'll be a real world immersion. So I gave you some ideas as to what you could do with your,